Thank you, thank you.
Well, good morning, and welcome to St. Thomas University. We're only running a little over 2 weeks late, so we're off to a good start. My name is Jack Letvinchuk, and I'm Director of Admissions here at the university. And it's my very real pleasure to open up the final orientation of this pre-season. I say it's a very special time for people in admissions because we work all year with you in the process and essentially carry out the charge that the president and the dean gives to us, and that is to recruit not new students but future graduates. So I welcome each and every one of you as future graduates of St. Thomas University and not simply new students. We have a variety of individuals as part of this orientation program. Our new students hail from 15 different countries, 20 plus different states, a variety of majors, a variety of interests. So I think we have assembled what we think is a very interesting mix for you to study with during your stay here at St. Thomas University. What I'd like to do at this point is introduce Father Edward Blackwell, who is our Director of Campus Ministry, to give us an invocation. Father Ed Blackwell is probably best known for his short but meaningful sermons, and I always use meaningful in that context. He has wonderful hot coffee in his office. If you're ever looking for a good cup of coffee, he's a wonderful listener. Amongst the number of things that he takes care of, most recently, he has organized our relief efforts here at the university on behalf of the victims of Hurricane Andrew. So it's my pleasure to introduce to you Father Blackwell.
Good morning, everyone. One of the special parts of St. Thomas University is our increasing sensitivity to the dialogue between ourselves and all of creation in the ecological movement. And it impacts many aspects of our life. And what I thought I'd do was share with you the prayer that came out of the 1986 Assisi meeting of world religious leaders where they met for a day of prayer. And it's an important thing for us to understand that as a university, we combine those aspects of intellectual interest and academic discipline with a sensitivity for the spiritual part of who we are and what we are called to be as God's people. It's this really unique opportunity as well in the sense that not only are Catholic students and professors represented within our community, but we have men and women of all religious traditions within our university, and that we seek to bring that diversity into a rich dialogue that is a source of blessing for us all. And so as we gather here to begin a year, let us remember the larger issues of the world in which we live. Let us remember our hopes and our dreams as we pray. Brothers and sisters in creation, we covenant this day with you and with all creation yet to be, with every living creature and all that contains and sustains you, with all that is on earth and with the earth itself, with all that lives in the waters and with the waters themselves, with all that flies in the skies and with the sky itself. We establish this covenant that all our powers will be used to prevent your destruction. We confess that it is our own kind who have put you at risk of death. We ask for your trust, and as a symbol of our intention, we mark our covenant with you by the rainbow. This is the sign of the covenant between ourselves and every living thing that is found on earth. Amen.
Thank you, Father Ed. The next individual that I have the pleasure to introduce is Dr. Richard Green, who is president of St. Thomas University. It's interesting, at many of these orientation programs that take place at college campuses across the country, it's not typical that college presidents address new students. You often hear from deans, from directors, what have you. College and university presidents are busy with other tasks and other duties. Dr. Green sees this as a very important part of his yearly calendar. He's very much a president for the students, working with the students. He sees this as a very important part of his calendar. He is taking time out not only from his duties as president here at the university, but he is also undertaking a new responsibility, and that's a position on the We Will Rebuild committee here in South Florida. This is a committee which has been commissioned by President Bush to deal with the very real problems here in South Florida as a result of Hurricane Andrew. It's a very important role not only for St. Thomas University but the community at large. He's spent his Labor Day weekend working with this committee not only to benefit the university but to benefit the people of South Florida at large. So we're very thankful for all of your efforts, not only on the university's behalf but on South Florida's behalf. And with that, I introduce Dr. Richard Green.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this university. We're so pleased to have you all here. This is a very special room you're in today, actually. As you look around, it could be a TV studio for LA Law, because this is a moot courtroom. And in this room, the law students learn to sharpen their skills in becoming lawyers. And back of me is the typical setup of a law school, a courtroom that's probably typifies any courtroom in America. And you're sitting in the audience view, and generally they videotape, like we're videotaping this program today, they videotape the performance of the students as they practice to become good lawyers. This is a Catholic law school, as this is a Catholic university. It's the only Catholic law school south of Georgetown in Washington, D.C. So in that sense, it's very special. And it's the other special side of this law school is that it's a very high-tech law school. If you're interested in technologies, you should walk around and see the number of computers and the online training that our young lawyers get. We're one of the highest users of high-tech in the law profession, in the law schools across the country. And as a small law school, I hope someday you may want to get the opportunity to come here as well. We find that a number of St. Thomas graduates from the undergraduate school are currently in this law school and currently come in here and practice. So there's a continuum. I just want to speak for a few minutes because I have to go speak to your parents and tell them how wonderful each one of you are. I'll lie for you this time, but I'll tell you, next time, you're on your own from here on in, but I'll tell them how grateful we are to see all you, but we have to go speak to your parents very shortly. But I just want to talk about a couple of things and mention a few things to you. We have a wonderful faculty here. We have an outstanding faculty. We have a school that's committed to the student. We're a small school. We're a family. We're a community. We play together and we pray together. And we study together, because this is a community of scholars. And you're becoming part of that community. And when we do the matriculation ceremony this afternoon, I hope all of you take part in that. When we do the matriculation ceremony, we officially welcome you into this community of scholars. everyone behind me represents this academic tradition that is so much a part of St. Thomas University. One of the things we have found, whether you're a freshman starting off your first year or you're a junior starting off your junior year here at St. Thomas, one of the things that we have found, and one of the things that all colleges and universities have found, is the one piece of advice I want to leave with you. The piece of advice I give you is this: within the next 6 weeks, a month and a half, you need, each and every one of you, individually, need to make a commitment to some part of this university. If you make that commitment in the next 6 weeks, 4 years from now, or 2 years from now, I will hand you that degree as you walk across that stage. If you don't make that commitment in the next 6 weeks, we will lose a number of you. Now, what do I mean by that commitment? That commitment can be done in a variety of ways. This is a small school that's wide open for leadership. I don't care if you're a freshman or a sophomore or a junior, you can lead in this university. If you want to take charge of a club, an organization, a service function, academic or a leader in your academic class, it's there. It's wide open in the school. You want to write for the newspaper, you write for the newspaper. If you want to play intramural sports, whatever you want to do, it's wide open. But you must make that commitment, either to a club, to an organization, to your fellow students, to a faculty member. The best advice I can give you is find a faculty member, and the faculty members will get to know you very well. We have faculty members that can go back and remember their students all the way back to the 60s, since the school has been founded here. We have faculty members that know them by name, that hug them when they come on campus. They've become their mentors and their friends. Find a faculty member that you can turn to. Find a friend in this university that you can turn to. Join an organization that you can turn to. Become part of this community. If you become part of this community, you become part of the whole. And we don't separate from one another. We stay together. That's the best advice I can give you. Remember now, you only have 6 weeks to do that. 6 weeks. Because after that, you start sliding out of the loop. But in 6 weeks, you'll see we'll have join this club. We'll say, take a leadership role here. We'll say, meet a professor there. Spend a few minutes after class talking to your professors. Get to know them, because they want to get to know you. You'll find that you'll learn as much outside the classroom as you do inside the classroom. And as you balance your life here, because you're here for academics, but you're also here to have the best time of your life. These next 4 years, these next 2 years will be the best time of your life if you put it all together. That's your decision. You're now an independent, tuition-paying student. It's your decision. We're here. We're prepared to help. And we'd love to have you join our community. Thank you very much. I'm off to see your parents. Thank you.
Good. Thanks, Dr. Green. At a lot of colleges and universities, the Dean of Student Life, or Dean of Students office is generally on the second floor of some building, stuck in the corner. and that office deals with an awful lot of disciplinary problems. You get a note to see the dean, and it's generally bad news. You hate to get that note. Not so here at St. Thomas University. Dean Zarzicki, our Dean of Student Life, is responsible for overseeing, coordinating, what have you, matters that are non-academic, and it runs the gamut from our athletic programs to recreational programs, campus life, housing, placement, what have you. Dean Zarzicki's philosophy is very much a student-centered philosophy, that he's here to work with you, to give you the tools that are going to enable you or empower you to reach your goals. So he's a very, very valuable resource here at the university. And without further ado, I introduce Dean Victor Zarzicki, our Dean of Student Life.
Good morning. Let me add my welcome to those you've already heard this morning, whether it be from our student leaders or from the officers of the college, and to those you'll continue to hear through the day. I want to just spend a few minutes to touch on orientation, how it's designed, what we intend it to do for you, and how much I want you to take advantage of everything available during these 2 days in this program. As Jack Levenchuk mentioned, this is our third in a number of programs that occurred during the course of the summer. Each program had the same design or purpose, and we really want to accomplish 4 things overall for you as a new student, whether you're a transfer or freshman. During these 2 days, we have a number of things to take care of. The first is we really want to share with you some information about the school, the welcomes you're receiving, getting material as far as how to proceed with the first day of classes on Monday, etc. So that's number 1. Number 2, we want to take care of some business. You're going to go through some placement testing if you're a new student today. If you're a transfer, you may or may not be taking some of that placement test. You'll be meeting with people from the registrar's office to talk about your credit evaluations. And really prepare the way for meeting with your advisor tomorrow and going through the registration process, so that by the time our orientation is concluded, you're ready for classes. You have your schedule of courses, and all business is taken care of. So that's objective number 2. Number 3, we want you to get to know each other and us and feel a part of the St. Thomas community. It's very important that you feel that you belong here. If you are comfortable, you have met others, you get to know them, and you feel a part of us, then you will succeed. That's part of what President Green was saying about making that commitment in the first 6 weeks. We're trying to give you a jump start, basically. We want you to feel comfortable and that you belong. You can be in any institution. Pick the most prestigious name in the United States, and if you are not comfortable and really don't feel you belong and are part of that school community, you won't get the most of it. So that's number 1 for us. You'll enjoy St. Thomas, you'll learn from St. Thomas more than what the classroom has to offer. So please, take advantage of what we offer you these 2 days. Enjoy it, get to know each other, get to know us, and get ready for Monday. Now, the 4th part of orientation program won't even take place these 2 days. There's so much going on anyway, we just had no way of including all of the other information that we think is very beneficial to a new student at St. Thomas. You will probably get information tomorrow when you meet on the academic information session and also with your advisor about an optional elective course, a credit course, which will provide you with more information on really how to survive as a student. It ends by the middle of the semester, before semester break and those things like midterms. And we will cover every type of academic policy and procedure, academic support service, all the ins and outs of how to make the most of St. Thomas. And again, that's offered as a course. You'll get information on that tomorrow. You can probably ask Professor Susan Angulo about that. But that's how we've designed our program. Taking care of business now, getting you comfortable, getting ready for Monday, and then, if it can fit into your schedule, take that optional course which will end by midterm. And that'll really get you set and answer any type of question you can possibly have about how to succeed as a student. That's orientation. Let me make a few quick announcements. When you finish this opening session, you'll be meeting with your group leader and going over to Kennedy Hall. Those of you who've not gone through a placement test battery will be doing that. Students who are transfers may or may not have to take some supplemental tests. If you are not required to take any testing, we have a second workshop running at the same time with representatives from the registrar's office, and they will review with you all of your transfer credit. It's important for you to know exactly what credits are transferred and basically get a prescription as to what else you must take to complete your degree requirements. So whether you are transfer or new student, please go over to Kennedy Hall with your group leader and we'll split you out there depending on the kind of program you're in need of. And the last thing, if I have any parents in the room, and I see a few in here, we're going to be beginning our parents program in about 15 minutes on the second floor of the library, and I'll be joining you there as well as the president, and then we'll get you going into that specialized program. So again, to everyone here, welcome to St. Thomas. I will see you throughout these 2 days and throughout your 2 or 4 year history, and as the president said, hopefully we'll be with you and shaking your hands and congratulating you as you cross the stage of graduation. So, welcome.
Thank you, Victor. We're getting close to the end. I see a few people getting restless, what have you. So we'll try to move on as quickly as possible. The next person that I have the pleasure of introducing, it's hard to believe, has been here beginning 5th year as Vice President of Academic Affairs. Dr. Norma Goonan is in charge of the reason you're here, matters academic. Dr. Goonan has very successfully undertaken the task of strengthening the academic program here at St. Thomas University, at reshaping the academic program both on the undergraduate and graduate level. I'm sure that she will share with you some of the changes that are in progress, from changing from divisions to schools and what have you, building a very much better St. Thomas University, which you will be a part of during the next 2 or 4 years. So it's my pleasure to introduce Dr. Goonan, Vice President of Academic Affairs.
Good morning and welcome, everybody. Gee, you're tall, or I'm very little, either way. I'd like to introduce, before I begin, let me say welcome to St. Thomas, first of all, and I add my welcome to those that you've already heard. But I'd like to introduce some people that, some of whom you'll be hearing from, and some of you whom you won't, but they're important people for you to meet. First of all, I'd like to introduce Dean George Giampetro, Dean of Enrollment Services. Dean Giampetro is in charge of 3 very important areas: admissions, financial aid, and registrar's office. So he has also a very big job at the university. The person next to Dean Giampetro is Professor Susan Angulo, Director of Developmental Studies. And she will be up here, we'll call her up here in a little while to tell you a little bit more about testing and things you'll be undergoing today. Next to Susan Angulo is Dr. Joseph Iannone, Dean of the School of Arts and Sciences, who will be also up here talking to you about the majors, and will be introducing the chairpersons in his department that are here. Okay, over to, on this side is also Dr. Richard Schmidt, who is Dean of the College of the School of Business Administration at St. Thomas. And everybody's been talking about us being here 5 years. Dr. Schmidt, this is our first academic year together since he just started with St. Thomas. And he will be up here soon also telling you about his programs. How many of you, by the way, are business majors? So you're talking to a wide audience. You'll be talking to a wide audience. And I assume everybody else is in arts and sciences because that's all there is, unless you're a law student, in which you're in the wrong orientation. Should have started last week. Okay. Dr. Donna Price will be also, as the chairperson, will be introduced by Dr. Ianno. I know I'm not going to spend any time, kind of telling you about why college is important, because I know you know that, and that's why you're here. But I would be remiss if I wasn't talking about a little bit about St. Thomas University in general. St. Thomas University, as Dr. Green said, is small, and being small is advantageous because you get to be a leader, and it's like it's being a fish, a large fish in a small pond. You get to know everybody. You get to know your instructors. That's very important. As you know, part of your grade, and when you study education, when you teach teachers, you learn this. Part of the grade comes from the instructor really knowing you. If he doesn't put together the face and the name, like in some larger schools, you're just a number. If you're just a number, there's just no putting together the name and the face, so they don't remember whether you participated in class, whether you said some wonderful, insightful remark that you're so proud of and went home and told somebody about. So they don't remember those kinds of things. But in a small place, you can get to be a friend. And I suggest very strongly that you make a friend of at least one of your professors. As a mentor, that person will help you through the next 2, 3, or 4 years. Another thing about St. Thomas University that is very special, besides the individualized attention, is that you have an opportunity to meet people from all over the world. Student diversity is a wonderful thing because it enriches what we do. St. Thomas University is a microcosm of the community that surrounds us, and not just the community that surrounds us, but the United States in general. We have people here from 30-some different countries. We have people here from everywhere in the United States. We have people of all creeds and all races. We have people for you to meet and to enjoy talking with and sharing your life with. People that you're going to make friends now that you're going to have for the rest of your life. We at St. Thomas University, we have, as you know, 25 undergraduate majors and 9 graduate programs and our law school. You will be fitting into one of those. However, there are some of you who are freshmen or even sophomores who have not yet decided upon a major, and that is okay. It's okay to be undecided. That means you get to taste more of what's out there and then make a decision. And our faculty as advisors are here to help you make those decisions. I think everybody changes majors. I know I changed majors 3 times before I decided on my undergraduate major. I think when I went to school, everybody started out as a psychology major. I was a language major, and then I ended up as an English major for my undergraduate. And I enjoyed being in every one of those things. And I guess you learn, and you learn more about yourself in college than you learn about anything else. We have some very special programs at St. Thomas University, but I'm not going to take my time because those programs will be explained by the deans, so I don't want to take up any of your time doing those kinds of things. I will say one thing for you. Make sure you read your catalog. Make sure that you are informed about the special dates for all academic things, including dropping and adding. Because I've seen too many sad cases of students who just they thought automatically things were dropped for them, and they finished their schooling, and they got a big fat F on their transcript. They didn't know why. And it's because they didn't read the instructions. One thing you learn, hopefully you learned all the way through high school, is you've got to read the instructions. You remember the professors that used to give you these little tests, and all there was is how to read the instructions? I don't know if you remember, any of you got that thing where there's like 30-some items, and the first item says, read the instructions and put your pencil down. And then the rest of it says, do this, do that, say out loud. And all of these people in the room were doing all these things, and the smart people read the first thing, put their pencils down, and waited. So please make sure you read your catalog, you know what your program is like, you seek out your advisor. Don't self-advise. I think that that's probably at this stage of the game, at any stage of the game, even through graduate school and through your doctorate, if you're going to do one, you cannot self-advise. I don't advise it. One last thing is that while you're at St. Thomas, we're going to be stressing some things. You're going to see a focus on different things like ethics, liberal arts orientation. In other words, we want you to be an educated. If you're going to be a teacher, if you're going to be an accountant, if you're going to be someone who works for the travel industry, we still want you to be an educated accountant, an educated travel person. Anything that you're going to be, we want you to be well-rounded. We want you to be at some sort of a party, and if someone mentions Camus or Sartre, you don't think it's someone on the NFL team. We want our people to say, you're St. Thomas graduates and you have a solid education behind you. The concept of service is something else that we will be talking to you about throughout your stay here at St. Thomas. Service is very important because, as you know, you are privileged. Only 1% of the world's population get to go to college. And as that privileged few, you're going to have to give back. You're going to want to give back to the community that nurtured you to be here, to your parents, and to the people that live in South Florida and in the United States. And maybe you're going to be involved with helping other countries. And that's the concept of service. And one last concept would be that of environmental realities. And I know, I see some of the props here, and I know that Dr. Iannone is going to be talking about environmental realities. St. Thomas University was involved with the ecology and the environment way before it became fashionable to do so. We know this is the earth we live in, and it is our home, just like so many people have lost their home to Hurricane Andrew. The reality is we are losing our earth to ourselves because we're not really heeding the signs. And that's another focus of. So here we are, and here you are, and here we are for you. We are here to serve you. You are the reason we are here. So don't hesitate to ask any of the faculty or any of us for help, advice. We are happy that you're here. Welcome to St. Thomas. Thank you very much. The next speaker will be Dr. Joseph Iannone, Dean of the School of Arts and Sciences.
Thanks. Thanks. You can hold this up. And I need I'm going to take my allotted 7 minutes. Is that what I get? Or 5? I need. Would you mind holding this up? I like both pictures to be seen. Okay, because I think these two pictures are going to be very important as far as your 2 or 4 years here. First of all, on August 3rd, when we had the last young group in orientation here, as Dean Zarzicki mentioned, was the very day that a group of people left Spain to go on a voyage of discovery. And you'll see this map in the foyer of the library. And what I suggested on August 3rd when we met, that was the day they left, by October 12th, what kind of discoveries, what kind of adventure will you go on? What kind of discoveries or adventures will we, St. Thomas University, go on? Because in 1492, up to that time, that picture was what the world understood to be the earth, the reality. That's the map. And if you read about that voyage, after 36 days on October 10th, in the log of the Santa Maria, they wrote down, if we do not find land in 3 days, we are turning back, because by records, no ship had gone more than 10 days, at least by records, in that direction. They had already gone 36 and had not found land. And they gave it 3 days until the full moon. And as we know, on October 12th, they sighted land. And that one discovery shattered what was the known world and the known reality at that time. Because up to that time, the map maker said, that's it, there's nothing more than that. Since that time, the map makers have constantly had to redraw the maps, including in 1969, when humans stood on the moon for the first time and looked back and saw the Earth as a whole for the very first time. So, I suggest to you, what will we risk, like these humans risked, and these humans risked, between now and October 12th? 6 weeks, less than 6 weeks, in what Dr. Green gave us. Because if we don't risk, we won't ever fulfill our desires. See, risk is the refusal to give up on your deep passion. By coming to St. Thomas at this time, you've taken a risk. At this time. Let me read to you briefly a brief word from Henry David Thoreau of the last century. David Thoreau had a direct influence on Tolstoy in Russia, a direct influence on Mahatma Gandhi in India, a direct influence on Martin Luther King Jr., a Baptist minister, a direct influence on Dorothy Day, a Catholic lay leader, a direct influence on Thomas Merton, a Catholic monk, tremendous influence. And this is what I'd like to offer you. He said, it is something to be able to paint a particular picture or to carve a statue and so to make a few objects beautiful. But it is far more glorious to carve and to paint the very atmosphere and the very medium through which we look, to affect the quality of the day, this time, the day. That is the highest of the arts. And in the School of Arts and Science, as well as in the School of Business Administration and the law school, we are about, at St. Thomas, as teachers and learners, affecting the quality of the day, our time. But let's look at our time. Let's look at today. Let's take a picture between these two views. For example, in our time, as you begin your academic life at St. Thomas, every minute, the nations of the world today spend $1.8 million for armaments every minute. Every hour, 1,500 children die from hunger-related causes. Every day, one species becomes extinct. Every week during the 1980s, more people were detained, tortured, assassinated, made refugees, or violated in other ways by repressive regimes than at any time in human history. Every month, the world's economic systems add more than $7.5 billion to the unbearable debt burden of more than $1,500 billion already resting on third world countries. Every year, the area of tropical rainforest, 3/4 the size of the state of Florida, 3/4 the size of the state of Florida every year is destroyed or lost. Every decade, if current warming trends continue, the Earth's atmosphere temperature could rise dramatically from 1.5 to 4.5 degrees Celsius with dramatic and disastrous consequences. This century, over 100 million people have been killed in wars, and we still have 8 years left. So, what are we at St. Thomas and what are you about? Well, you're very privileged, as you heard, not just that you're the 1%, because at St. Thomas, we practice 3 principles, which I consider to be a model of God, at least a Christian Catholic God who believes in a trinity of gods. For example, we believe in differentiation. Just like the 3 different persons in that view of God, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, we believe that every diversity, every difference of race, color, sex, age, whatever diversity country we have, that has to be valued. That's number 1. In the United States, our common culture is multicultural. That's the bold experiment of America, that diversity and differentiation is the number 1 step in the process of living and of learning. Number 2, we value interiority. Just like each person in God has an inner center, we value the inner life of every person. And the spiritual life in campus ministry and among the faculty and staff of St. Thomas is alive and well. And unless you're willing to go deep down into your center, you will not go on any voyage of learning. And finally, after valuing diversity and interior life, we value communion and community. We value sharing. And in the new reality of South Florida, 2 weeks after the greatest natural disasters, people are saying, in the history of the United States, after Hurricane Andrew, we have a university and we have a community that has survived. And what's needed now is critical thinking, which happens best at a university, and creativity. And that's what we're about, and that's what our programs are about. And I'd like to take just 2 seconds or 2 minutes to introduce and to have them explain to you some of our majors. First, Dr. Adriana McEachern, and second, Dr. Donna Price. Thank you. If you could put those down now. Thank you. Adriana? Thanks a lot.
Hi, I have to stand on my tiptoes to talk to you here, but Dr. Ino is always a tough act to follow. Thank you.
How's that?
Thank you. Very briefly, I just want to welcome all of you on behalf of the Departments of Education and Social Sciences. For those of you who are not declared business majors, we do have a variety of majors to offer you in these 2 departments, and we encourage you to come talk to our faculty as you try to make some career decisions. In the Departments of Education, we offer the majors in elementary and secondary education, of course, with various specializations within secondary education. For those of you wishing to pursue graduate programs after you complete your bachelor's, or for those of you who are here who are pursuing graduate programs now, we offer the Master's of Science in Elementary Education, which is an advanced degree for elementary school teachers. And we also offer the Master of Science in School Guidance and Counseling, which prepares you to work in the schools as a school guidance counselor. In the Department of Social Sciences, we have various offerings. We offer majors in sociology, psychology, human resources, criminal justice. For those of you interested in law, we have pre-law program, political science, and public administration. We offer graduate programs, Master of Science in Mental Health Counseling, and the Master of Science in Marriage and Family Therapy. So I encourage all of you to come talk to our faculty. Our offices are over in Kennedy. Kennedy 218 will be moved in hopefully by tomorrow. We've had a little renovation and so forth at Kennedy. But come on over and see us. We have coffee. We want to talk to you, and we want to spend some time helping you make some sound career decisions. Thank you for being here. I look forward to seeing you at registration.
And now, Dr. Donna Price.
Another short one. I'm Dr. Price, and I'm in our Department of Math and Science. a lot of you sort of think of math and science and cringe, but over in math and science, we tend to see everybody, whether you major in our department or not, which is nice for me because I get a group of diverse students coming through. At St. Thomas, we want everybody to get a nice, well-rounded education, so in addition to taking your English and doing your major courses, even if you're over in the business school, you'll need to take at least one science course or 2 science courses and a math course. So you'll be bumping into me maybe in one of your biology classes or something along those lines. And along those lines, in biology, we're lucky here in South Florida to have the Everglades in our backyard. And we tend to stress environmental things along with the school and our environmental focus. We're trying to look at our community and see how we can help and understand the environment around us and how it's developing. I read in the paper yesterday that Hurricane Hugo is going to give us, and a lot of scientists, the ability to go into the Everglades and see the stress that we as a population of people living in South Florida have put on the Everglades, in addition to the effects of nature and what that has done to the Everglades. So I have a feeling that a lot of new studies are going to be coming out, and I think the Everglades have probably done much better than our developed society has done around that area. So, in math and science, our majors are chemistry, biology, and computer science. We have mathematics minor for anyone who's interested in that. Faculty in our area, we have 9 faculty members who are all nice and friendly and ready to work with you and help you get through your career here at St. Thomas. Our offices also are over in the Kennedy building, so if you ever need any assistance, please come over and feel free to talk to us. And I will be around all week for registration to help anyone out in that area. And I guess that's about it. So welcome to St. Thomas, and I'll be seeing you soon, I hope.
By the way, I neglected to mention, for those of you who like a challenge, we do have an honors program in St. Thomas. We do have 2 study abroad programs. That's the program in Spain in El Escorial, which is about an hour from Madrid, beautiful palace, and a program in Italy called SAFE, Study Abroad for the Earth, semester abroad in Italy, in Cortona and Assisi. So check it out. Think about it. Okay, our next speaker will be Dr. Richard Schmidt, Dean of the School of Business Administration.
Short people. Well, welcome to St. Thomas, and I saw that the audience has a few non-business majors. Well, we'll work on that. The School of Business Administration previously was a division of business administration, so now we are a school, full-fledged school. We have 9 majors within the school. We have the traditional majors of accounting, finance, management, and those that are more attuned even to the special needs of South Florida, such as sports management, travel and tourism, hospitality management. We have a strong interest in your success. In fact, that's what we're all about, helping you to give you the tools to be successful, however you define success. We see a success in the academic environment while you're in the university. We also see success as you go out into the business world, because like has been said, it's time now to get down to business. So we are not an easy field. It's very competitive out there. And now with our all the talk that you've heard in the newspapers and in the magazines and in real life, it's a global economy. We have to prepare you for a global economy. It's something that you have to prepare yourself for. So when you come into the business field, and we welcome you over there, then you put your shoulder to the wheel. We'll give you the tools. We insist that you get a broad background, because nearly half of our requirements at the university here are in the general education area. The history, the English, the mathematics, the science, the humanities, because you have to be a whole person. You have to be an ethical person. There are far too many unethical business people out there. They have the tendency to grab all the press. The people out there in business have a very, very heavy responsibility, because you deal with them all the time. We all do. All the way from the fast foods to buying a car, buying a house, getting repairs done. That's all business. And you have to be able to do it well, because, again, it's very competitive. So I want to add my welcome to you, to St. Thomas, to the School of Business Administration. Whether you choose business as a field to go out and practice after your 4-year degree, or you choose it as preparation for law school, which we're sitting in now. It's a great background. You can't beat it. So we're not just the technical training field, we're the education field. We want to prepare you for success here and out there in the business world as a productive individual from a Catholic university. Thank you.
Our last speaker on the academic side will be Professor Susan Angula, Director of Developmental Studies.
Just right. I'm Susan Angulo, and we were passing out a flyer to you to add to your packets. I will be spending some quality time with you tomorrow in the academic advising section. Our area in developmental studies helps prepare students for academic college level work. And this morning, many of you will be participating in the testing program. The testing will help us decide what levels of courses you're ready for, and whether some of the students may be going on to special honors courses as well. This morning, I know you received a letter that said to bring with you your SAT scores if you have your SAT or ACT scores. And if you have the 400 on the verbal and 400 on the math on the SAT, then you will go into a different room. If you don't have your SATs or ACT scores or class scores, then don't worry about it. We have young ladies standing at a desk ready to accept you, and you will pass into the testing room. We will have the results of the test for you tomorrow, and we're going to have in the morning an academic advising session so that you'll get the results of the test. And then you'll be speaking with your advisors in the afternoon at 1 o'clock. And by the end of 1 o'clock, you will have finished the whole entire process. You'll have gone through the testing and placement, and you will be registered for courses, and you'll be ready for Monday. I wanted you all to have this in your hands so that tomorrow you could ask me any questions. So today, please take a moment and just look through the course offerings that we have and the services. We have special academic support, and we have tutoring in all of the courses that you would be taking. So if you feel that you may be getting into trouble, please come to us before it's too late. And you have my telephone number right here. Don't hesitate to call. We like questions. That's what we're here for. We are on the second floor of Kennedy. My office is on the second floor of Kennedy next to the girls' bathroom. The Academic Support Center is on the first floor of Kennedy right across from the chapel. You'll be able to find us. Thank you.
Good. Thank you to my esteemed colleagues. Joe, you once again got the prize for the longest address, but we enjoyed it. Is there anything you wanted to add? I think you wanted to plug. You got 1 minute.
Actually, we also have communication arts majors in our School of Arts and Sciences, a very exciting major using high tech as well as different ways of communicating in business as well as in other fields. We have history major, English major, religious studies major, Spanish major, liberal studies major, and the chair people of that department are located in the second floor of the library.
Time's up. Okay. Good. Thank you, Joe. Well, we're at the end of our welcoming session. I see some sighs of relief and what have you. You've heard a little bit about voyage and discovery, about sharing and caring, about St. Thomas University and why we're here. A little bit from Thoreau. I'd like to add two things. One, my best advice to you as new students is if you have questions, ask them, but there's no such thing as a stupid question, especially during this orientation and your first couple of weeks here at St. Thomas University. And while Dr. Iannone took some words from Thoreau, I would just like to share 3 words from the folks at Nike, and that's just do it. So I wish you luck. The orientation staff will move you along, and we wish you the very best.
Thomas University new student matriculation ceremony open. Please remain standing for the invocation led by Reverend Edward Blackwell Jr., Director of Campus Ministry.
Let us bow our heads. As we welcome another group of students to St. Thomas University, we ask God's strength and blessing upon you. May our time together enrich our personal lives, scholarship, and sense of community. Let us remember the words of St. Teresa of Avila during the days ahead. Nada te turbe, nada te espante, Dios no se muda. La paciencia todo lo alcanza, quien a Dios tiene, nada le falta, solo Dios basta. Nothing moves thee, nothing terrify thee. Everything passes. God never changes. Patience be to thee who trust in God. That person shall never be needy. God alone suffices. Amen.
My compliments on your Spanish, Father. Please be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, parents and students, esteemed colleagues, honored guests and friends, I am Norma Goonan, Vice President of Academic Affairs, and it is my pleasure today, on behalf of St. Thomas University, to welcome you to this new student matriculation ceremony. Bienvenidos a todos. At this time, I am privileged to introduce the President of St. Thomas University, Dr. Richard E. Green.
Good afternoon, everybody. Distinguished faculty, members of the administration, reverend clergy, and members of our new entering class. I want to welcome you all to this ceremony. It's an important ceremony because it's the beginning of a lifelong relationship and commitment that you'll have with St. Thomas University. Once you graduate from this school, you'll have the opportunity to go on. Many of you go on to graduate schools at other colleges and universities. But this will always be your spiritual home. It will always be your academic home. The ceremony we're about to recreate for you goes back almost 800 years. And I want to take you back those 800 years to the medieval universities of Europe. Actually, the Arabs in the Arab Empire in the early 800s had universities throughout the Arab kingdom, all of North America, Egypt, and what have you. But the European universities and the ones that St. Thomas are descended from generally got started around the 11th and 12th century. And we wore our academic robes today to show you what they wore and that we always wear at academic ceremonies. These robes that we wear today, what we call our academic robes, were worn by both students and faculty in the medieval days. That's how they could tell the student. That's how they could tell what we would call a master teacher or a faculty member. And the robes they signified certain sides to them. The robe itself, depending upon your robe or your discipline, and depending upon the degrees you held, generally tended to show were very brightly colored, as some are today. Some were traditional black, but they all had a symbol, and those symbols started to show up in the hoods in the back, as you look around the back of these, and showing the different disciplines, whether they be education or philosophy or history, or whatever discipline of college or university you graduated from. In the old days, the hood, as this is called in the back, used to be thrown up over your head because in those medieval universities, they got very cold. There was no central heating and there was no central air, and the result was that they were very cold and very drafty, and people would generally wear a hood and they would throw it up over their head, so people always wore the hood. We still carry those hoods in our back, and they're still shaped like a hood if you look in the back, but they really don't mean they're not used as a hood anymore, they're more symbolic. The chain of office that I wear is the seal of St. Thomas, and it represents our Spanish traditions. It goes back to St. Thomas, who was a saint from Villanueva, a very special saint. We'll talk more about him as you learn to know about this university. And it goes back to Spanish Augustinians that first came to the New World to help educate and settle it. It also carries, this is the official seal of the university. And the chain was always worn as a chain of office by the so-called rector, or as he was called in those days. And some schools still call the rector, and sometimes called, and today being called the president. And whenever the president is inaugurated, the chain of office is generally given to him to wear at all major ceremonies and graduation. And sometimes, too, that they always at the beginning, in the early days, they had the mace. Today, the mace is a symbol, another symbol of the university. It's a symbol that we hold, and we created this symbol, and it says St. Thomas University on it, and it's carved, the sector of the world representing the international scope of the students that come here, and also recognizing the power of the church and the worldwide commitment of the church throughout the entire globe, and recognizing our concern for the earth and what we stand for as a university, and maintaining the earth. In the old days, in the medieval days, the biggest and strongest faculty member carried this, and they were usually out front. So when the classes were over and the faculty wanted to go back where they lived, or they walked through those narrow medieval towns, they were afraid they were going to be set by robbers. So the heaviest guy and the strongest guy carried this, and this was virtually a club. So if anybody got in your way, he carried it out front to show if there's going to be a problem, he was ready to take care of the problem. And that's the way they carried it. And today we carry it more again as a symbol of what we stand for and what we believe in, rather than as a club. Although on occasion, I think sometimes faculty members wouldn't use this to clear some of these halls, but we don't. But it's a symbol, and we value that symbol. And these traditions have come down to us for 800 years in terms of developing a sense of a community of scholars. And when you look back at those medieval days and what people studied, it's interesting because basically things don't change so much even in 800 years. The studies were basically around the 7 liberal arts, which many of you will take on starting next week: theology, law, and medicine. Students came from many different countries to study at these European universities, and so they had to have a common language that everybody understood. And so all the students and all the faculty spoke in Latin and read their textbooks in Latin. So there weren't many textbooks available. Usually they were very scarce and very, very costly. And so the master would get up and he would read from the text. And sometimes there might be 1 or 2 texts out in the audience in the classes. But students would sit there and watch the professor read from the text and read from the text. Sometimes the professor didn't like to read from the text, so he'd get somebody from the class to read from the text. And it reminds you what goes on, some of you remember from your high school days. But it hasn't changed one bit in 800 years. The students generally took notes from the master, and what they did was they had what they called parchment paper, which was made out of skins of goats or boar. And they would carefully clean off the skin and take all the fur away, all the outside skin, and rub it and polish it until it became a very fine, very thin parchment. And the parchment, and we've heard of parchment paper today, but the parchment was used to write on in order to carry their notes around. And they actually carried, it was like carrying, it was was this large when you walked around it. Because the universities were few and far in between, in both Italy and in Europe, in France and in Germany, it was very hard for people to go to school. They had to travel long distances, which meant generally they had to live in dorms, or you and I would call dorms, or residence hall, but they generally lived with people in the towns, and their conditions were terrible. But students were students, and students liked going to college and universities because they had a good time. They drank a lot. How many things have changed? They drank a lot, mostly wine and ale, but they drank a lot, and some never went to class, and some did. They generally were always broke, never had any money. They were always writing home to their parents and their brothers and their sisters, and sometimes they had patrons, people that sponsored it and sent them on to school. Because these were rather difficult times, battles were being fought from one side of town or one side of the country to the other. Many times they would be trying to run classes, and instead of Hurricane Andrew, they would be under siege. And the town, most of the towns were medieval towns. You go to Spain, you can go in the Spain program, or you go in the Italy program later on, you will enjoy it immensely. When you get into some of those old medieval towns, you'll see what I'm talking about. They're just wonderful to look at. And it'll bring you back to what I'm saying today. And as you go through that, you will see how difficult it must have been to go to school under those conditions. There was one student that wrote home and said that it's been 2 years since he tasted wine. He was so broke. 2 years since he washed his face and trimmed his beard. I'm not sure if I'd like sitting next to that guy in class, but nevertheless, the students had a good time, and they certainly enjoyed going to Luzerne University. Faculty, very uneven, because the instruction was very uneven. You had very learned people that studied very carefully. Some had begun teaching before they were fully trained. The students paid the faculty directly. You didn't pay tuition. You paid the faculty. And you paid in your classes. Sometimes the masters, because they wanted to be popular, would even hire students to come to class, so everybody would think that they had a big class going for themselves. And that made other students want to come in and join it, and that meant they got more money. So they were entrepreneurs before they were professors. Some, of course, lectured on Sunday, and some even lectured on holy days in order to get the money. But they did everything they could to get the money coming in. Some were easy, because they let the students sleep in the morning. We're not easy here, so you got to go to class. We want you to go to class. But the medieval universities, though, really started the traditions and the values that have come along, that have been passed on today. And one of the most important aspects as the tradition that we're going to pass on today is when a student joined the university and he was about ready to be going from a student to a scholar, he took an oath of loyalty to the masters, that he would be loyal to the university, that he would study hard to earn his degree, and then the community of scholars, the faculty, would invest that student. It was called an investiture ceremony. And they would invest that student into the community of scholars, and that's why we're here today. As we gather here today, we're gathering here today to recognize you as a member of this learned community. Today we invest you into the University of Scholars. And in this investiture ceremony, you become part of us. And this commitment that we make to you is that we'll do our best to truly make you a scholar before the end of the time when you get your degree. So we welcome you, and I offer my congratulations to each and every one of you as we begin this important year together. Thank you very much.
best faculty member that was elected by the faculty to ward up, who carried the mace, Reverend Dr. Gary McCluskey. Please stand up. I will now call to the microphone some very important people in the lives of the students here. They will address you on behalf of the distinguished faculty whom they represent. First, Dr. Joseph Iannone, Dean of the School of Arts and Sciences. Dr. Iannone.
Thanks, Nora. Actually, I thought Bob McCluskey was the one who had shaved in 2 years. I'm glad he's the president and chairperson of the faculty forum. We were together today, working at 9 o'clock, and it's been a long day for you and a long day for all of us, but we're asked to give a few words in the program of advice and counsel. So my first one will be advice. When you go into class next Monday, some professors may make this offer to you. They may say to you, you might have on your schedule my class as the one you dread the most. Or you may think that my class for your major is the most irrelevant class, and you just want to get a grade. So they may make an offer to you and say, here's the syllabus, we'll be together for the whole semester, here are all the requirements, and here's the attendance policy, and restart today. Or you can fill out an index card, and I'll give you a guaranteed A. You don't have to come to any classes, you don't have to take any tests, you don't have to write any papers. Now this is your most dreaded class and the one you feel is the most irrelevant. Now let's be honest, how many would take that option? Just raise your hands. Yeah, you're honest. Now mathematicians tell us one other thing that would be in the requirement. That the professor would just say to you, sometime by December 22nd when the grades are due, all you have to turn in, because we have to give Dr. Goonan some record that we did something here, just write on a piece of paper 1 to 1 million, and just turn that in. How many of you would still do that? That's all you have to do. Okay. Now that would take you 8 hours a day for 200 days to do that. So my advice to you is things are not often as easy as we may want. And don't take the easy option. You're paying good money to come to St. Thomas. And you ought to be concerned that you get your money's worth. And that you and the professor make your hands contract that you're going to learn the best that you can while you're here. And that man or woman who's teaching you is going to be held accountable to teach the best that they can. That's the deal. That's the contract. That's what that MACE stands for. Eric Fromm, in a book, Escape from Freedom, said, nothing terrifies us more than freedom. Nothing terrifies us more than freedom. That's my second bit of advice. Because when we had a hierarchical university where only somebody had the book to read because no one else had books, or only the priest had the Bible because no one else had Bibles who could read, then we have people up there giving out a lot of information. See? We have all these officials, they're indoctrinating little kids, whatever their age is, to obey. And a lot of times they obey the professor, the priest, the king. Pretty neat system. That's not education today. And that's not the world we talked about this morning. Now we have a whole community among which you can learn. Your colleagues, your peers, the professors, this library, the art gallery, South Florida, the world. You're going to have to learn your discipline by being involved in that wider community. And there'll still be professors, and they're necessary, but they're to lead you into the wider community. Instead of putting things into you, indoctrinate you, our task is education. Is to draw out that inner spark that only you have on this planet. See? And instead of treating you like little children, which you're not,
your people in process. All the potential that you have and we have is all found in the process of becoming mature. And in some areas, you're going to be much more mature than me already. And you need to share that. And instead of obedience, that you have to obey somebody, by the way, the word obedience means to listen. That's all it means. The goal is freedom. Freedom to be who you are and to contribute your work with this planet, with this world needs. The community educates people developing toward maturity so that they're free to be who they are. And it takes the whole process for the potential to develop. So you need to give it time. You know, the only thing we've all done constantly, it's never stopped from the moment that we were born, is what? Grow, right? From the very first moment someone gave you a spank, you cried, you did what? Breathe. And we constantly breathe to this very moment. And that's my second and last bit of counsel, is to keep breathing. You know? And to breathe everything in. Breathe everything in. You know, make sure, as you have done today, that you show up. Because if you don't show up, you can't breathe what's available to you these 3 or 4 years. And pay attention. It's a hard thing to do. To pay attention, really pay attention to what's going on. It takes a lot of discipline to do that. And then try to understand the truth and speak the truth. And I guarantee you, if you show up, if you pay attention, if you try to understand and speak the truth, you'll have a very profitable and a human as well as in a financial time here in St. Thomas. And after you've done all that, then you just got to get out of the way and let what's going to happen happen. And I have great confidence that it'll be a joyful, a meaningful, and a very rewarding, both in a human sense and also in your career. Because we're about at St. Thomas with you, educating the new workforce, the new professionals. See, not maintaining the old stuff, though that's important, but to talk and serve and learn and work in that reality we talked about this morning. So it's nice to see you at the end of the day as well as in the morning. Take care.
I too had a chance to speak with you this morning, so you've seen me, you've heard me. Let me add a few other words that the Dean didn't mention that I would like to tell you about. You're entering an adventuresome time. This is new. You're now in person. You may have some college experience. You may not. You may have come straight out of high school or out of the workforce. This is going to be a great experience. It's not always going to be easy. You're going to have responsibilities. You're going to be held accountable for doing things. Mother's not going to be there to hound you. Neither will the professor. You're expected to do things, do them when they're due, do them as well as you can. You're starting to learn the procedure of being an adult, being a provider in the workforce, being productive. It's fun, particularly when you're successful. And that's what it's all about. We want to give you the tools, we want to give you the attitudes, we want to give you the critical thinking skills to be successful. Like I said this morning, let's get down to business. Let's do it, and let's be productive, and let's do the best job you possibly can do. Everybody has different abilities, everybody has different skills, not everyone is alike. In fact, there aren't two of you that are alike. I'm taller than some. You're going to go out there and you're going to do fine. And we're going to help you every bit of the way. You do your part, faculty will do theirs. The university will help you every chance it gets. So take advantage of that help. You're in an institution right now. You're in the building, the library, full of books, information, knowledge. Take advantage of it. So good luck to you. Like I say, you're starting a fun part of your life. It's going to be a big adventure. Treat it that way. You'll enjoy it, and enjoy everything you go through. Thank you.
We thank our academic leaders for their words of counsel, and I want to add my own sincere words of advice to you students who hold the world in your hand. Rejoice in what you're about to do in this opportunity to pursue a higher education, whether you're a freshman or a continuing student, to become a well-rounded adult, to enjoy knowledge for its own sake, and to use it well. In these days, when material advantage is so overemphasized, when values are questioned, and spiritual values often are overshadowed, the words of an ancient and very wise writer of Proverbs becomes very relevant today. He said, "Happy is the man who finds wisdom, and the man who gets understanding. For the gain from it is better than gain from silver, and its profit is better than gold." And now, with the university community behind you, I invite you to consider this matriculation ceremony as the university's formal welcome to you as individuals and as member of the St. Thomas University community. The significance of the ceremony is twofold. It marks a commitment of the St. Thomas family to assist you during your studies and personal growth, but it is also a commitment on each and every student's part to apply him or herself to the study and effort involved in academic pursuits. I invite our president, Dr. Richard Green, to come forward and lead us in the matriculation dialogue as it is found in your program.
The search for human integrity, academic excellence, calls each of us to a twofold task of growing in our individual and spiritual maturity and assisting others in the human family with the same task. I now invite the incoming students to please stand to affirm your commitment to your continued intellectual and spiritual growth. Stand up. Mindful that wisdom and knowledge are gifts from God, do you promise to apply yourself to the study and the work involved in academic growth? The gifts given by God are not only for our personal well-being, but also for the good of others. Do you promise to use your new skills and knowledge to serve others, most especially the poor, the widowed, and the orphans?
We do, asking God to grant us the gifts of love and compassion.
To the faculty that are present, mindful of your duties as mentors, teachers, and friends, do you accept these students into your care?
We do, asking God to guide us in our teaching and counsel.
And to everybody that's present today, as the world grows larger and more complex, women and men with a deep and profound spiritual and intellectual maturity will be needed to create families and fashion the institutions of culture. Do you pledge your continued support for these students?
We do, asking support and encouragement from God, also each member of St. Thomas University.
To all students present here today, by the power vested in me by the state of Florida and the Board of Trustees, I accept you as members of the St. Thomas University, and I urge you to use all the resources in this community to assist your growth and development. I also ask that you contribute to the well-being of this community in your words and in your actions. May God, who has begun this good work in you, bring it to completion. Amen. Now we're going to ask you to sign in as a member of this new enduring flag.
Students will now come forward to affix their signatures and hometown in the St. Thomas University class book and to meet the president, the vice president for academic affairs, and the dean of students, Dr. Victor Zarzicki. The name and hometown of each student will be announced by Dean George Gianpietro, Dean of Enrollment Services. Can you start over there with that young man?
Roberto Salazar from Hialeah, Florida. Julia Benjamin from Miami, Florida. Carmen Armentero, New York City, New York. Evie Rodriguez from Miami, Florida. Julianne Murphy from Florida City, Florida. Reese Thomas, Freeport, Grand Bahama, Bahamas. Todd Callender from Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
Personal conversation. Does that make up our conversation?
Kirsten Hay from Hollywood, Florida. Maria Ortiz from Long Island. Sebastian Kovacs from Miami, Florida. Christine DeShazo from Miami, Florida. James O'Brien from Canton, Massachusetts. Patrick McKinney, Milton, Massachusetts.
Election, Massachusetts.
Elizabeth Smolinski from North Grafton, Massachusetts.
way to go.
Stephen Cahill from Oyster Bay, New York. Sister Carla Martinez, Miami, Florida. Claudia Diaz from Miami, Florida. Melissa Hall from Coral Springs, Florida. Pascal Gary from Miami, Florida. Donald Washington, Chicago, Illinois. Eugenia Ferrero, Miami. David Smith, Miami, Florida. Paul Cardone, Boston, Massachusetts. Didier Roche from France. Adriana Collins from Veracruz, Mexico. Heidi Barker from Rio Piedras, Puerto Rico. Leo Loftman from Stockholm, Sweden. Edgar Ovalles from Miami, Florida. George Fidella from Fort Lauderdale. Narissa Armstrong from Miami, Florida. Edmund Karam from Caracas, Venezuela. Diana Rabasa from Hialeah, Florida. Josiane Seitu from Miami, Florida. Felicia Hawley from Miami, Florida. Bill Santamaria from Boca Raton, Florida. Jennifer Johnson from Hampton Bays, New York. Alex Swinsky from West Palm Beach.
Waiting for a picture.
Robert Barker from Rio Piedras, Puerto Rico. Rabanan Rapasad from Long Beach, New York. Kathy Roman, Pompano Beach, Florida. Natalia Chong from North Miami Beach. Kenya Hall, Brooklyn, New York. George Valdez, Brooklyn, New York. Enrique Esquivel, Miami. LaShawn McCrae, Miami, Florida. Sigrid Strong from Kristianstad, Sweden. Melissa Del Sorda from Verona, New Jersey. Gustavo Ustedes from Honduras. Neil Jennings, Miramar, Florida. Sandra Ortiz from Long Island. Maria Ricardo, Bronx, New York. Julio Vega from Rolling Meadows, Illinois. Angela McShane, Miami, Florida. Jose Ortiz, Puerto Plata, Dominican Republic. Frank Barnes, Panama City, Florida. Barbara Hernandez, Miramar, Florida. Joseph So, Hong Kong. Joseph Nessel, Plantation, Florida. Michael Huck, Hollywood, Florida. Erica Bosco, Jamesburg, New Jersey. Charlene Benitez, New York City, New York. Gordon Burton from Providalis, Turks and Caicos Islands. Shonda Colbrook, Miami, Florida. Fernando Sardiego from Plantation, Florida. Michael Wade, Kingston, Jamaica. Willie Ruth Joseph from Miami, Florida. Roma Harper from Trinidad. Gary Jackson, Jamaica. Raul Duran from Mexico City. Pete Hudson, Wheelock, Vermont. Tom Moisi, Aurora, Colorado. Gilbert Curtis, Coconut Creek, Florida. Fernandez from El Salvador. Lazarina Gonzalez from Hialeah, Florida. Melissa Camito from Hollywood, Florida. Melissa Murray from Inglewood, Colorado. Ana Maria Herrera from Colombia, South America. Jose Castellanos from Newark, New Jersey. Renee Celebrate from Turnersville, New Jersey. Greg Lomax, Portland, Oregon. Deborah DeJesus from Miami, Florida. DeJesus, excuse me. Ricardo Vidal from Lima, Peru. Anna Torres from Bronx, New York. Eduardo Macias from Bronx, New York. Selah Cabrera from Hialeah, Florida. Patricia Canis from San Jose, Costa Rica. Vanessa Tahar from Howard from Puerto Rico. Silvia Morales, Caracas, Venezuela. Monica Rossi Montero from Miami, Florida. Isha Shabi from Cameroon, West Africa. Alicia Lerman from Rockport, Massachusetts. James Mallon from Malden, Mass. Tom Crowley from Long Beach, New York. Gavin Mulligan from Boston, Massachusetts. Arnold Wandrum from Hollywood, Florida. Rokenya Collins, Miami, Florida. Luther Wright from Queens, New York.
That's why St. Thomas is so exciting. We have students from all different parts of the world. We have a lot of local people here today. I want to remind you, we also have a 2+2 program in the business school where the first 2 years are by Spanish students in Spain, and they take 2 years of St. Thomas courses in Spain, and then they come their last 2 years here. This year, 18 from that group are coming, and we have, for the last 2 years, we have had students here from Spain, so they will be joining us soon. We have people from all over the world here. It's so exciting. Look around you. We have people from faraway, exotic places like Cameroon, Hong Kong, France, Mexico, Honduras, Ecuador, New Jersey. Didn't know if you were asleep. Please stand for the benediction. After the benediction, we invite you to be seated until the platform party has recessed. And por favor, después de la bendición, permanezcan en sus asientos hasta que la facultad de los estudiantes hayan salido. Thank you for sharing this celebration with us. Gracias por habernos honrado con su presencia. Father Blackwell will lead us in invocation.
Part of our heritage as a university comes from the Augustinian Foundation in Philadelphia. Many of the fathers are of Irish descent, so we conclude our prayer today and our ceremony with the Irish blessing. May the Lord bless and keep you. May the Lord's face shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord look upon you with kindness and give you peace all the days of your life. Amen.